Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content that may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents. I'm Kenyon.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Lucy.
Today's episode is on lesser-known cults. So we didn't want to do, the Charles Manson shit that everybody knows about. We wanted
Jonestown. We're over it.
Oh my God, so scary. Some of the audio though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, it's bad.
Yeah. So no. Instead, we are gonna do cults that you might not have ever heard of. And if you're in a cult that we forget to mention, tweet at us. We'd love to hear from you.
We will forget to mention it. We will.
All right.
Perfect.
Amanda, you want to give us our wine pairing?
Yes, wine crime pairing. Let's do this. So I kind of felt for this episode I needed a wine with a cult-like following. So naturally I have chosen Chardonnay.
No one really likes Chardonnay.
Good. No.
Yeah.
No one really does.
Yeah.
But it's not just any Chardonnay, because again, it needs to have a cult-like following. So this is America's #1 selling Chardonnay for over 20 years.
Wow.
Kendall Jackson.
Oh my God.
Yep, I got a K-Jack. Specifically, 2015 Vintner's Reserve Chardonnay. So this Chardonnay is fruit-forward, unoaked, and bright, because I am not about to chug a butter bomb just so I can puke it up after this episode. It's not happening.
Again.
Again, yeah, like last time. Little information on Chardonnay. It is a green-skinned grape variety, which is where the wine gets its light color and bright flavors. The grape originated in the Burgundy wine region of eastern France, but is now literally grown wherever wine is produced. It is like... It's the most common grape ever. It's a little bit of a slut. You'll find this grape being grown from England to New Zealand, so just all over the place.
Yeah.
This particular Chardonnay that we're about to pop was grown in California, specifically the cool coastal growing regions of Sonoma, which is one of the largest growing regions in the United States. So I literally Googled why the hell is Chardonnay so popular and found a really great theory, which I actually totally agree with. This theory is that Americans who grew up on so much soda and as we call it in Minnesota, pap. Because the malolactic fermentation of Chardonnay turns the natural green fruit flavors into soft, buttery flavors, which are reminiscent of colas and like candies.
And pap.
So it has and pap. It has a sweet kind of effervescence to it. I'm kind of trying to withhold a Jonestown drink the Kool-Aid joke here because it's just too easy.
Yeah.
But anyway, this theory makes perfect sense to me, and I'm sure I'm going to get flack for saying this, but because America is basically the fat fuck capital of the world, and we love our soda and garbage food, so why wouldn't we love that in our wine too?
I love it.
I don't particularly like Chardonnay, but in the spirit of cult tradition, I'm going to jump on this bandwagon and see what this wine can do to purify and improve my life.
Yes.
Here we go.
All right.
Cheers.
Let's do it.
Cheers.
Oh, nice pap. Nice pap. All right, on with it.
Okay. Lucy, do you want to give us some background on cult life? Hashtag
Nah.
cult life?
That's all
Okay.
right.
All right.
Nah, I'm going to bed.
Jake Ames. So, because we're skipping the more popular cults, I decided that we're probably going to revisit cults as a theme in a future episode. So,
Yeah.
I didn't go super deep into the psychology because, honestly, we're all kind of aware,
Oh, for sure.
but we'll go through it. So, let me...
It's like a feeling that classifies a cult more than an actual definition.
It's like pornography and art. Like, you know it when you see it.
Right, and there are a lot of gray areas.
Yeah.
So let me just open with a quote. It's easier to fool people than to convince them that they have been fooled, by Mark Twain.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very applicable
Yeah.
in the current climate.
Apropos.
So we don't even need to mention the T word because we're all going to be thinking it the whole fucking time we're recording this.
Yep.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
I'm probably going to mention it, though.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
probably going to mention it.
That's true.
Sorry about it.
The Merriam-Webster definition of a cult really doesn't shed a lot of light on this. It's a system of religious beliefs and ritual, also its body of adherents. A second definition was a religion regarded as unorthodox or spurious. So that really casts a wide net here. So we're going to talk about the differences between a cult and maybe a church or a group such as Alcoholics Anonymous.
Let me
Okay.
just chime in here with the fact that I am a raging atheist. So this line is
know.
going to be really blurry for me. Continue.
For pretty much all of us here.
You're an alcoholic atheist. I get
Yep.
it.
AA.
Okay, so with retaining any shred of respect you might have for organized religion,
I'll
the
try.
main difference is the ultimate goal of the organization. So, established religions and other altruistic movements such as Alcoholics Anonymous are outward facing. They benefit society. They're making contributions, whereas cults serve their own purposes, which are really the purposes of the leader.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good differentiation to kind of use as a blanket.
Yeah. There are more,
Guide.
but like I said, it gets real gray.
Sure.
Yeah.
So their energies are focused inward on themselves and not necessarily on their members, but in particular on the leader.
Okay.
Members are also recruited using deceptive or manipulated tactics, which are coercive influence techniques, and they eventually replace one identity with another.
Yep.
So
Okay.
the brainwashing, all that stuff, eventually that person will even present themselves with a different name or just a completely different personality.
Sure.
Okay.
So there are several types of cults, and those include doomsday cults, polygamist, racist, terrorist, and then I think these all kind of fall under the destructive category. And that's and that's what we think of when we talk about cults for the most part.
Is the KKK considered a racist cult?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Because it should be.
So there are
Dicks.
there are over 3,000 known cults in the United States, and they're
Oh, wow.
split into
That many?
Yeah, and they're split into 4 general categories, and this will make more sense once I explain all the categories.
Sure.
So one is religious, and that's the type that we hear about most frequently. Won't throw out any examples. I'm sure you guys are kind of covering most of that. There are psychological or enlightenment cults, and these are the kinds of groups that offer expensive enlightenment workshops.
Okay.
Scientology.
Well,
Uh-huh.
yeah, we've all heard of those.
Oh, sure.
This was my favorite. Commercial cults, which include pyramid schemes, multi-level marketing organizations.
Herbalife.
Oh my god, awesome.
Herbalife.
Herbalife.
Totally.
Oh my
Oh
god.
God.
100%.
Also, like Apple. I know it's not a pyramid scheme.
Hey.
I am holding so many Apple products right
Watch
now.
it.
We all are.
Watch
I have
it.
3 Apple products within reach right now, not
Samesies.
including cords. But it's a little cultish. Anyway, which also leads me to throwing around the word cult. Kind of dangerous because it really does. It's a blanket term for a lot of things. But before we get into that, the last type of a destructive cult is a political cult. So organized around a political dogma, such as Nazism,
God.
which was originally a cult.
Yeah.
This is too applicable. It's like scaring me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
living in some fucked up times.
Yeah.
Sure thing. Thank God for the Wine and Crime podcast, am I right?
They really opened my eyes.
Perfect.
So I, as cult leader, have a charismatic personality. It's an authority figure who can alter others' trains of thought by making them feel like they're in danger or forcing them into a state of fear so that they'll follow the leader and look up to them him or her to save them, the members.
Good God.
Okay.
One differentiating factor is that this must be a living leader to whom members display an excessively zealous, unquestioning commitment.
So Jesus doesn't count, but anyone
No.
claiming to speak for Jesus.
Sure.
Correct. So the leader is completely in charge, totally dominant over the members. They make the plans, they dispatch the workers, they assign the chores. They are in charge, and they are also in charge of punishment.
Ooh.
So anyone who questions, criticizes, doubts, dissents is subject to physical punishment sometimes, but mostly psychological because they have a more of a fundamental effect, like a brainwashing, thought reform.
Shit.
So
okay.
Yeah.
those are the most successful.
So like, was communism under Mao a cult? Like, we call it a cult of personality, but is it a cult?
It is a type of cult, yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I was saying. Like it's
Political.
It's risky using the word cult because it has such negative connotations. But
Sure.
really, a lot of political systems could be defined as cults.
Oh, yeah.
So, So it's not always necessarily this nefarious. Everyone ends up drinking the Kool-Aid kind of a thing.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so the members will start to rationalize the leader's behavior in the ends justify the means kind of a mindset. And they'll start to think, like, whatever would we do without you? We'll never leave you. We're permanently
Sure.
attached to you, the psychological dependence. So
Okay.
I thought this was kind of ironic, but it totally makes sense. The leaders have an anti-authoritarian disposition.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Literally.
Oh, my God.
So, like, for example, if it were kind of like a Christian-based cult or group, they would say, no, you don't listen to the elders, the priests, or even Jesus necessarily. I'm the one who communicates. Like, it's me, the leader, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's polarizing. It's the us versus them.
Yep.
Okay, so eventually members will abandon or act antagonistically towards their friends and family and say that they're a new person, maybe with a different name, like we talked about. So that's kind of the not really the end game, but kind of a definite sign that a loved one is for surezies in a cult.
100%.
Why do so many, like, capital C cults end in suicide? Or why are suicide cults such a thing?
I think it has to do with what she was talking about before, which is the end game of the cult.
It's complete
And you know
dominance.
there are different reasons. Like it's for referring to Jonestown, which is one that we're actually not covering today. But he did it out of fear of being capture, and that was like the angle that he played was, you know, the government's coming for them and doesn't agree with their way of life, and so he's going to exercise his control by being like, you're either with me or you're not, and if you're with me, you're killing yourself.
Okay.
It's constantly like a follow me, I'm your leader, you worship
Right.
me, you'll do what I do, no matter what.
My story is a suicide cult, so you'll see a little bit of that, at least for their purposes, explained in my segment.
Okay. All right.
I also delved a little bit into what kinds of people join a cult. And research says that about 2/3 of people who join cults are psychologically healthy people with normal backgrounds.
Yeah.
That's
so
wild.
one of my grandmother's friends when my mom was growing up, so like one of the like neighbor ladies, joined a cult, and I can't remember what it was called, but she joined a cult and ended up like divorcing her husband, never seeing
Sure.
her kids, selling all of her property and giving all the
Yeah.
money to the cult. I think
Selling
she
Herbalife.
But I mean,
she
again,
worked,
not
she
to
worked at the Genius Bar.
Oh, shut up. But to go back to Jonestown again, he originally basically advertised it as like a hippie communal way of living, where everybody kind of lived off the land and contributed, and there was no money, and they supported each other, and he housed and clothed these people as long as they contributed to like making sure they're working in the farm and you know maybe So it's like, that sounds fucking great out of the gate. So I can see how people can get roped in, and then they're in so deep, and it starts escalating so quickly, and they feel like they can't get out.
Yeah.
Exactly. So some people who join cults have depressive symptoms, but like that is not what the cult leader, those aren't the kinds of people the cult leader wants in their group. They represent a loss rather than a gain of productivity.
Yeah, too high maintenance.
Yeah, and you want successful, functional people to kind of spread your message.
Right, it legitimizes your organization by having people like that.
And so one of the things that they found that is a trait of people who joined cults to a lesser degree is that they had some kind of personal loss or that they didn't have a sense of direction. Like they will recruit a lot of people in their 20s-ish because they don't really know what they're doing with their lives, they don't know where they're going. And that's also why a lot of cults in the United States started in the 60s and 70s, because it was such a period of political, like, tumultuous
turmoil
scene. Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Oh, God, what are we going to see coming out of this time around?
I know, right? A lot of fucking cults.
I am afraid.
Yeah.
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 But hey, at least we'll get to pick and choose.
Right?
Yeah.
The market's going to be great.
The market's going to be
Beggars
flooded.
can be choosers.
Beggars
The market's.
Okay, so to this extent, the environment shapes the members' behavior, which is why the psychological conditioning is the reason why they say it's why these cult leaders have to be so charismatic and so convincing and create an environment of isolation and kind of condition people with like social shame and embarrassment that's what steers their behavior. All they want is to be accepted into the group, and that's how they get people behind them.
I wonder how much of that manipulation by the cult leader is planned out or thought through consciously, and how much is just kind of a natural process. Like with domestic violence, you know, it's not like domestic abusers are going to a conference every year and like telling each other like tips.
Sure.
But they do seem to follow this like very regimented pattern of controlling behavior.
Well, I could see it being a similar thing as, you know, we've talked in the last couple episodes about, you know, serial murders, necrophiles, arsonists. Like, they often fit these very cookie-cutter, seemingly, kind of parameters to their condition. Like, these people are charismatic, they're controlling, you know, they feel...
They're egomaniacs.
Like they want to be part of something. Yeah, they feel like they, you know, are the gateway to a better life, and they can't be convinced otherwise, but they can convince hundreds of other people of that, apparently.
I think they're all cut from the same cloth, honestly. Your ego has to be enormous to pull off any of the crimes that we've been talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So basically, I guess I just wanted to draw a parallel for the sake of conversation between the cults that we'll be talking about and Nazis. Because it really did start, Nazism was a cult. It didn't start necessarily, it was like a political fringe, whatever, and it just captivated an entire generation and an entire country.
Sure. It's crazy.
From his charismatic leader.
And like, here's the thing though, like there's charisma and then there's like Hitler, which it's like he didn't appear very charismatic, but...
No, but he also, again, he played on the fears of people. So his charisma, I don't think, was as necessary in this scenario because people were afraid. So it wasn't hard for him to convince them and to put a face to that fear, to put a label to that fear and say, here's what we need to get rid of, and then everything will be fine.
Yeah.
You know,
get
rid of
what
Muslims.
All these cults have in common.
Because we've had terrorist attacks. You know, people are already afraid.
Yeah.
It's so fucking easy to exploit that kind of fear. And do whatever the fuck you want with it. It's actually quite disgusting when you use that to, I don't know, become president.
And it's easier to fool people than to convince them they have been fooled. Confidence. Okay, anyway, that's it for the background.
Okay, nice job.
Coolio.
Good job, Lucy. I'm going to
Thanks.
pour
Well
myself
done.
another glass before I get into my case so y'all can just listen.
Yeah, sorry about it. This wine is not good. I'm really, keeping my sinuses closed with every sip I'm taking of
Go
this.
make a gin and tonic instead.
No.
Do yourself a favor.
No, it's
I'm-
off-brand. No.
I'm gonna get through this. I'm taking it for the team.
My case, I'm gonna venture a guess that most people haven't heard of it. It is, the group is called the Movement for the Restoration of the Ten Commandments of God.
Too long a name.
Yeah. Acronym,
MRTC.
please. Oh, there we go.
MRT.
MRTCG. God, it's even a long acronym. Fuck.
MRT will do.
Yeah. I'm just gonna call it the movement or the cult. So,
Movement reminds me of poop.
the bowel movement that attracted 6,000 followers.
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
That's one zealous leader.
Yeah.
All right. It was a cult-like group in Uganda, southwestern Uganda, and it started in
You gotta be kidding me.
That was
I'm
good.
already a little drunk. I'm
That
so
was
sorry.
It started in the mid 1980s and went until the year 2000. It was a breakaway group from the Roman Catholic Church, which is very powerful and popular in Uganda. So about 50% of Ugandans at the time belonged to the Roman Catholic Church, and the other 50%, with almost no exceptions, were Protestant. So it's a very Christian religious country. This cult, one of the reasons why I was attracted by it was that its primary founder was a woman.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dang.
So,
That's abnormal.
Again, who run the world? Girls.
Girls. Female cult leaders.
Get it, girl.
Patriarchy.
That's one.
There were also a few dude co-founders, but she was the one that kind of ran the show, mainly because she had, or claimed to have had, visions of the Virgin Mary. So we'll
Who
get more into...
hasn't?
Right, I know. We'll get
In
more
my
into
toast.
that. All right, her first name was Credonia, which is just beautiful, just rolls off the tongue.
That's not funny.
I can't pronounce her last name, so we're just going by first name. She was a bar owner and a brewer of banana beer, which is probably
Yes.
better than Chardonnay.
Woman after my own heart.
Her father had had religious visions some 20 years earlier, and then Credonia, when she was a teenager or in her early 20s, started to have them and joined a virgin cult before going on to co-found and become the high priestess of her very own cult. One of the other co-founders is Joseph Kibutere. He was a failed local politician and self-proclaimed bishop, which you got to admire, just being like, yep, I'm a fucking bishop.
I'm a bishop.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. He may have had bipolar disorder, but a lot of people have bipolar disorder and don't go on to found cults. So
Yep.
that's neither here nor there.
I mean, a few.
And his wife, badass lady, refused to join the cult.
Go, girl. Get
yeah.
a brain in your head.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. The third co-founder was an excommunicated priest, and there's not really much on the fourth one. All these leaders together claimed that the Virgin Mary continued to communicate with them on a regular basis through a, quote, magical telephone system that worked through cups and plates.
How?
Like one of those
I mean-
cup phones you make with your neighbor when in
With
the
a string.
1950s.
I think just like sitting down to dinner and being like, pass the fucking salt, Jesus says so. Like, I think
my
they're
God.
just, it's just totally.
But it was the 80s. Like, they knew how phones worked
Yep.
at this point.
Yeah, not just a magical system, not revelation, you know, a
Right.
magical telephone system. It's my favorite.
What they didn't disclose is that they're sitting in the same room, so they were just talking out
Talking
loud,
to each other.
pretending it came from a plate.
This movement was founded on a gross misinterpretation and ultra strict
Gross.
adherence to the Ten Commandments. You might have heard
good
of
God.
them.
I thought there were only 9.
It's like
out.
it's like the 10 tiers of necrophilia, but more boring.
Less helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, less illuminating. Okay, so the followers undertook dire measures to obey the Ten Commandments and achieve salvation. And you might think, okay, that doesn't sound that hard, but they kind of took it to a whole next level. So, for example, they stopped talking to one another at all so as to not bear false witness. So they just stopped speaking altogether.
It's so weird.
To each other or
To
in
anyone.
general?
To anyone. With each other, they would
How
use
did
some like
How did this
basic.
cult get off the ground?
Well, don't forget about the cups and plates.
Well, it's true.
They have
Lest we
those.
forget the cups and plates.
The caffeine bars. The universal
God.
language of caffeine bars.
I think maybe the leaders were allowed to talk. The leaders didn't seem to do all the things that everybody else had to do.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah. The followers with one another, because they lived in a community and they had to like till the fields and, you know, do all the chores and everything. So they had to communicate a little bit.
Uh-huh.
So they would use like a rudimentary made up sign language with one another.
Okay.
And they weren't allowed, they're completely isolated. They weren't allowed to communicate with people outside of the cult, even relatives or family members. So that's pretty standard. They rid themselves of sexual desires and
Yeah.
remained completely abstinent.
You see this a lot in cults.
Doubt it.
Doubt
This
it.
means they had a really killer social nightlife
Oh,
after
yeah.
the leaders went to bed.
Yeah,
Ugh.
the followers play.
There were a lot of quiet hand jobs.
Oh. Oh, MRT after dark.
Rivals the
Gross.
real world.
They might not have had the energy for all those HJs, though, because they fasted almost continuously.
Okay, BJ's then.
Jesus.
Okay. Oh,
That's
more
way harder.
calories. Yeah.
Pun intended.
Yeah, well, the
Oh,
calories.
consuming the calories.
Oh.
I get it.
Oh, okay. This wine is hard enough to stomach. Could you fucking not?
Yeah.
I hate it.
Getting creative.
Any object entering the compound from the outside, including medicine, clothes, food that they couldn't grow themselves, had to be exorcised with prayer.
What?
And inexplicably, soap was forbidden.
What?
Because
I
they
don't
couldn't
know.
They couldn't exercise it.
Yeah, who knew that soap would be so tricky to exercise? But
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, so
I
this
don't
cult
know.
was like known as the stinkiest cult of all time?
Yeah, they're
I'm
stinky,
assuming.
they're not eating, they're not having sex, they're not talking.
Sounds like
Fucked
hell.
up. Yeah, and they're
Really
in, like,
boring.
really boring. And they're in the middle of nowhere, just like forest and fields.
Woof.
And yet they're like agrarians. Like they're growing shit.
Yeah, they're growing a lot of like bananas, and they could eat that and make it into, you know, various foods, and then also make banana.
That they couldn't eat.
Well, they had to eat some. I mean, it was a cult for like 20 years or 15 years.
So they stayed alive somehow.
Yeah. I mean, they were fasting, but still, you know, they had to eat something.
Fasting probably means they couldn't eat between the hours of X, Y, and Z, and then they would probably
Right.
have a communal meal like at the end of the day after they had been
Right.
finished with their work. That would be my
Exactly.
assumption.
But
Yeah.
there's no, like, bananas Fosters for dessert or anything.
I highly doubt it.
Okay.
Such
you're not
indulgences are
enjoying it.
strictly forbidden.
It doesn't sound like there's anything going on that is enjoyable in the least. They
Least
were,
of all, smelling your neighbor's armpit.
right after tilling the fields all day, it's insane. I can't.
I just burped and a little bit came up.
How's that Chardonnay?
It's really good.
That's the Kendall Jackson promise. So members worked long hours in the fields growing food for the community, or they would sell a lot of the excess food to like nearby towns to have money to buy other things that they couldn't make themselves.
Uh-huh.
They were a doomsday cult, best kind.
Oh, fun.
They believed that the apocalypse would happen on January 1st, 2000.
Y2K!
Y2K!
Yes.
So why were they freaking out in the 80s? It was still like 20 years away.
I mean...
Well, I mean, it started to get closer to the year 2000, and we will talk about it. All right. One ex-member of the cult said that followers were asked to fill out a questionnaire when they joined, asking, quote, whether or not they would be willing to die for their faith.
That's a leading question.
It's a little suspicious.
Yeah.
At its height, they had around 5,000 or 6,000 followers.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot.
All living on the compound?
They were spread out over a few different compounds, all in the same region of Uganda.
Okay.
And there was one main compound that had about 1,000 people. In the lead up to the expected apocalypse, followers sold off their property, paid their taxes early, which is like very responsible.
Yeah,
of them,
if you're assuming you're gonna die,
that.
why bother with your taxes?
I'm
not doing that.
I would not. Yeah,
No.
sorry, government. No. This part is actually pretty endearing. They also repaid any debts to people not in the cult. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And then they gave all their remaining money and possessions to the cult
Okay.
after doing that. So they were prepping.
Inward facing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they were getting ready. All right.
Buying deodorant?
No.
Is deodorant allowed?
Does deodorant count as a soap? Because then no.
I don't think it was allowed. I didn't read anything about deodorant. They look
Google
real
it.
miserable in the photos. There are photos in the Google Drive. But don't
So
look
there's
at it.
no way they're wearing deodorant.
They just looked really unhappy. But anyway, all right. Some context. Uganda throughout the 1970s and 80s was a fucking scary, shitty, terrifying place.
Oh, sure.
There was the dictator Idi Amin, which I just still only picture Forrest Whitaker in Last King of Scotland because he just fucking crushed it.
Sure.
Did he get an Oscar for that role?
I don't
even know.
remember. He was nominated, though.
Did the real dictator have, like, a half-closed eye also?
A lazy
Wonky
eye?
I was just about to ask that. I don't know. But
We need answers!
come on,
Oh my
people.
God.
Listeners, did Idi Amin have a wandering eye? And we don't.
We lean on our listeners to complete a lot of our research.
He had an estimated 500,000 people died during his rule, which was less than a decade.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't.
That's
It was
100,000 people a year on average.
Yeah, a little bit less because it was like 8 years, but yeah.
Holy shit. Oh, okay, less than a decade. I thought you said half a decade.
Yeah. No, he was crazy. So, real shit dictator had just come out of power. He wasn't dead. He was in exile in Saudi Arabia and attempted to come back a few times. So there was that looming over people's heads. There was a guerrilla civil war called the Ugandan Bush War, blah, blah, blah. There was the AIDS pandemic. Interestingly, though, at the same time, there were also a lot of sex scandals involving the Roman Catholic Church.
Weird.
Big surprise.
Snooze.
Yeah, this caused kind of mass disillusionment with the church amongst the population, and so a lot of disenchanted Catholics were kind of like looking for a
Somewhere else
different
to go.
answer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A
And
charismatic leader.
Right.
a charismatic leader, and also a lot of defrocked priests and nuns who might have been defrocked for their sex scandals
No.
joined the movement.
So defrocked means they were kicked out, not that
Yeah.
they left of their own accord.
No, they were forced to resign. I also
Holy
love the word
shit.
defrocked.
It's the
I could
best
defrocked
word.
Aaron Knight.
Yeah,
And
who
then
doesn't?
refrocked immediately to get into bed in my comfiest clothes.
Hashtag propose Dan.
Hashtag defrocked and refrocked.
So shit was going down. People
Yeah.
wanted answers. They flocked to this cult of defrocked people. When the world didn't end on January 1st, 2000, the followers of the cult started to become skeptical of their leaders.
Smart.
And many, and many of them actually demanded their money back.
Of course.
What was their first clue? He was full of shit, or she.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Don't talk about
They.
Candace like that, or whatever her name was.
Crustacean. What was her name?
Murphy
Cardamom?
Brown. Credonia.
Oh,
We'll talk
right.
about her soon. Okay, so people are asking for their money back. The world didn't end on the new year, on Y2K, and the leaders are freaking out.
Uh-huh.
So they scrambled to reveal a different day for the apocalypse.
Oh, we got it wrong. It's actually
JK.
next month.
Literally, they blamed a miscalculation. They said they were bad at math.
They
Sorry,
did
Kenyon
integrated
did the math.
So in mid-January, they were like, okay, we have a new date for the apocalypse. Get
Oh my
ready.
God.
Mark your calendars. It's March 17th
What?
of the same year,
That's St. Patrick's Day.
which can feel like the end of days. So
They couldn't have bought themselves a little more time to collect funds.
Well,
No.
things were unraveling really quickly. Like followers were pissed, and a
Yeah.
lot of followers actually left. So
I
their
love that people
numbers
were so mad that the world didn't end. Wouldn't you be kind of pumped? Be like, oh, thank God, I did not want to die in a fiery end of days.
In early March, in preparation for March 17th, the group began slaughtering cattle en masse and buying a lot of Coca-Cola in town.
Wow.
Oh no!
This is so
Truckfuls
weird.
of Coca-Cola.
Hey, at least they weren't Pepsi people. I never trust a Pepsi person.
That's true. If you're
Fuck Pepsi.
listeners,
No.
if you're a Pepsi person,
Get
fuck
out.
right off.
I am not a Pepsi person, but my mom, Momar, is a big Pepsi person.
That's so
I know.
weird.
I don't get it.
So they were preparing for a pre-Armageddon feast to happen the day before the second doomsday.
Right.
So beef and Coke.
Yep, steak and Coke.
That's it.
Yeah. Before the predicted doomsday came, however, the day before, 530 of the movement's followers gathered inside their church building,
Uh-huh.
and then the structure exploded.
What?
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Like, randomly?
She blew them all up.
530 people went into the church for a little meeting, and then the church blew the fuck up.
What?
Oh my god!
That's insane. Well, something's fishy about that.
Yeah.
I will be
So-
suspect of every staff meeting I'm ever invited to for the rest of time.
Don't go into a room with anyone. Just be alone always.
I would love to be alone all the time.
To this day, it is debated whether these events constitute a mass suicide or mass murder.
So
of
no
the
one
community.
ever figured it out?
They never resolved it.
At first, it looked like a fairly typical mass suicide from a doomsday cult. But once more evidence was uncovered, it began to be investigated by authorities as a mass murder.
'Cause duh.
530 people.
Fuck.
Just wait. So the first sign that something was off, besides the church full of dead bodies,
Right.
was 6 corpses were found buried under a building on the property.
So 6 more corpses
Yeah.
outside of this 530.
Yep.
Oh, fuck.
Buried under a latrine.
Uh-huh.
Fresh.
Yes.
That day.
Fresh.
Oh my god.
Within a few weeks before.
Semi-fresh.
Probably related.
Yeah, well, definitely part of the cult, yeah. Also, forensic investigators found that the doors of the church had been locked from the outside, and windows were boarded up.
What?
Oh, that'll do it.
Yep.
Holy shit.
Jesus.
The building may have been pyrotechnically rigged. This would have been great for our arson
Hey,
episode.
incendiary devices. Here we go.
Yeah.
Were those devices exercised, though? Like, how did they get
Was there
past that
soap?
checkpoint?
Somebody just went, you're blessed, you're blessed, you're blessed. Come on in, light this building on fire.
Somebody blessed at least 50 liters of sulfuric acid.
They ordered them on Amazon pre-blessed.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of sulfuric acid.
Oh,
Yes.
sure. They had to blow up 530 people. You better get enough sulfuric acid. We've made this
Yeah.
mistake before.
You better do it right the first time.
Yeah. Also, to evade suspicion, the local authorities, so the local police and stuff, had been invited to a function on the property on March 18th.
What? They threw a party the next day to
No,
distract?
So, earlier in March, the cult was telling all of its followers the world's going to end on the March 17th, but we're going to trick the cops into not bugging us, so we're going to invite them to a party on the day after Doomsday.
Amazing.
Oh my god.
Perfect cover.
Yeah.
Perfect cover.
Because
one
they were buying all this cattle and buying all this Coca-Cola, so they didn't want to arouse suspicion. So they were
Right,
like,
they
yeah,
had to
we're
give
going
an
to have a
excuse.
party.
Okay, it's for the
Yeah.
party. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It began to be revealed that the leaders had engaged in a purge of disgruntled followers weeks before the church explosion. So that
Like a
was
murder
why
purge or kicking them out
Those are
of
the
the group?
bodies. Those are the 6 bodies.
Oh,
a
shit.
murder purge.
Oh,
Yes.
my
Murder purge.
Murder.
Also, great band name.
Hashtag murder purge.
All right, I hope you guys are having fun because I'm about to drop some knowledge on you.
God damn it.
Oh my god, I'm having so much fun.
Hundreds of other bodies were found at movement properties around the region, buried in mass graves.
What?
What?
Yeah. So
Who were
Yeah.
they?
So
They
shit,
were
at the end of this tally, this could be more than Jonestown.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, but that
They
was a
think it's-
suicide and not a mass murder. So it's a different,
Yeah.
it's under different qualifications.
Yeah.
Hold up. Who were the other dissenters? And why were there hundreds of them? And why
So-
weren't they in the church?
Okay, so remember how at its height there were 5,000 members
Yep. Scattered
Yeah.
among other regions.
scattered among other sites in the
Compounds.
same region.
Oh, yeah, not region sites. Got it.
And then they started leaving. A lot of people started leaving when the world didn't end, and they were disappointed. And so then the leaders went around to the different compounds and fucking slaughtered people and
Oh
buried them
my
in mass graves.
god.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so they think in addition to the church that there could be up to 900 other people
Other
that
people?
were
Woof.
killed by poisoning, stabbing, and suffocation.
So we're looking at 1,400 people.
Yeah.
Holy
Okay,
shit.
that's a lot of people to murder. So who were the people who were actually stabbing and suffocating
I would
the rest of these
I would
people?
assume leaders at these other compounds.
How are there that many people who are in on it? Who
I
know
don't-
these people need to die? That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
another level of mind
Yeah.
control.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the majority were probably poisoned because it's
Sure.
just easier than stabbing. And then, maybe if people got wise to it, they were the ones that were stabbed or suffocated.
Oh, good
Oh
god.
my god, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, so it's fucking crazy. So back to Sister Credonia, because she was the brains behind this whole operation.
Okay.
Is she still alive at this point in the story?
Yeah, she's probably still alive today.
Holy
Shut
shit.
up.
We gotta write a letter to Cardamom.
Credonia, if you are listening, please retweet this episode. We'd love to interview you.
I doubt she's
You're
using
clearly
Twitter.
very charismatic. We would love to have that kind of Twitter reach.
We'll give you a bottle of Chardonnay.
Oh, I just took a
poison
sip.
you.
It's so bad. I wouldn't even do that to Credonia.
Okay. So, she was the true power behind the movement. And she had been the primary person calculating the date for the end times.
Oh, so her math was the math that was bad
Yeah,
math.
her math was off. People say she never smiled and that she was cruel.
Okay, I'd
One-
probably start a cult too if everyone was like, you should smile more. Fucking patriarchy. Am I right?
Fucking patriarchy!
God damn it.
One report claims that she informed her followers that the Virgin Mary told her that all children under 5 had to be killed,
What?
and that the sacrifice needed to happen immediately.
Were those the people in the
So-
1400 extra bodies?
There were definitely dozens of children that died in both the church explosion and found in the other mass graves.
Oh
but
my God.
There's no evidence that children under 5 were all killed at the same time. So I don't think that this order was necessarily carried out, but she gave it.
Holy shit.
Yeah, she was crazy.
And the people in the church had no idea that almost everyone else in the other sites were dead now?
No, because they don't use any phones that aren't cups and plates and magic. So how the fuck are they gonna know?
They had
And remember,
really poor signal.
right, and what
I don't
Kendall was
know,
saying
Facebook?
was after the world didn't end on New Year's Day / New Year's Eve for Y2K, people were pissed and were like, fuck this shit, y'all are cray, we're leaving. And then they started going after them, and they had until what? When did this explosion happen again? March 17th?
Yeah, or 16th.
No, the 16th.
Yeah.
So this is, I mean, it's a pretty rapid descent, but it happened over the course of like,
true.
60
few
days,
months.
30 days to
Yeah.
60 days.
Well, yeah, like a month and a half,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
it
So
all went
90
down.
days. I mean, this is
So
fucking
they think
longer
that
than
they
the
were just-
termination
they were
agreement of a new iTunes account.
In another instance, she led her followers in burning the plantation of a relative of a cult member who refused to join the cult.
Oh, sure.
And they completely destroyed that man's property.
Yeah.
Hold up, after the explosion?
No, this is before. I'm just going into some character
Yep.
references.
It's all
for
leading
Virginia.
up to the big event, the big fireworks display.
Yeah.
Which I still have a lot of questions about.
Oh, good
Right.
God. Okay.
She also had a colorful past. So she is alleged to have burned all the possessions of a man who spurned her.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
I've done
yeah,
that.
girl.
I've done that.
It is trash.
She was then briefly treated for a mental disturbance.
Oh,
what the
dear.
fuck ever. Then she probably worked as a prostitute or sex worker. Mm-hmm. Former friends report that she once seduced a passing motorist, stole his who hasn't stole
Right.
his money.
How do you
And-
seduce a passing motorist?
She showed
she
some
flashed the
leg.
nip.
No,
Men are
remember she-
fucking disgusting. She probably just had to walk on the side of the fucking road before he came
Yeah.
pulling over, drooling, asking her for something.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
True.
She owned a bar and brewed banana beer, so he probably
So maybe
stopped him.
passing meant I'm stopping by for some banana beer, know what I mean?
Right. So she seduces him, steals his money, and then later was seen cleaning bloodstains from her floor, and the
for
man
her.
was never seen again.
Good for
I
her.
like it.
She
I
got
like
another
her.
offender off the streets.
I like her.
She's
We
doing
have
God's work. I
No
love her.
evidence that man did anything wrong.
I don't care. I don't care.
Yet again, let's point out how understanding we are of all of these murderers.
I don't know about you.
I like her.
I'm
I
ready.
like her.
You know what?
I'm ready to get a
She's
Credonia
ballsy.
tattoo. I'm getting a Credonia tattoo. Free Credonia.
She's ballsy.
I love her.
Okay. All right. Last allegation. The police now suspect that she may have poisoned all 3 of her elder brothers one by one so that she could get the entire inheritance.
I get that.
I
get
have
it.
an older sibling.
I do have, and Ashley, I know you're listening because you're a super supportive sister, and we don't have an inheritance, so you're safe. But had we an inheritance? I don't know.
If Suzanne wins the lottery, Ashley,
Oh,
run.
you're gone. I'll raise your children as my own and marry your husband, but you're out. Ew, my brother-in-law.
Okay. Miraculously, Sister Credonia is thought to have survived the church blast.
Oh, weird. She
was
made it.
inside?
No.
No, she wasn't.
No.
There's no way she was inside.
Yeah, she was definitely striking that match. She fled the compound and is still on the lam. There's an international arrest warrant for her, and she has yet to be apprehended to this day.
No way. She's out
She
there
has
now?
She's definitely started at least 6 other cults by now.
I doubt it.
Probably.
I bet she's laying super fucking low because she could be pinned on for 1,400 plus murders.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well,
I don't
as we were
think I'd run
talking
somewhere
about
else and start another cult.
the traits of cult leaders, like, that's fucking egomaniacal shit. Like,
I
that's
don't
not
know.
something that you just stop doing.
I don't know.
feel.
I bet she's in hiding. I would be willing to bet all the Kendall Jackson Chardonnay that exists in the entire world that
Take
she is
it.
in hiding.
Last fun fact. In 2011, Credonia and the other cult leaders were awarded a satirical parody Nobel Prize
What?
for, quote, teaching the world to be careful when making mathematical assumptions and calculations.
Stop! Stop!
All right, so that is the movement for the restoration of the 10 Commandments of God.
Wow.
Bravo. Bravo.
Thank you.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Amanda, on to you.
Okay, so here's what I'm tackling this episode. I know that this was semi-famous, but I feel like it was not given the notoriety that it deserves, so I'm here to fix that up for you. This is the Heaven's Gate cult. Yup. This cult existed from 1970 until 1997. Okay?
Shit.
It had a history. Its leaders were Marshall Applewhite and my new hero in all of life, Bonnie Lou Nettles.
Nice.
I'm naming my firstborn Bonnie Lou Nettles. This was a smaller cult.
I like that.
I know the last cult was like 6,000 people. This cult had at maximum about 38 members. Okay?
That's enough.
Yeah, kind of
That's
small.
enough.
Kind of small, but you'd be shocked at what they accomplished with 38 people. So we're gonna go back to back in time. We're gonna go back in time. I'm hammered. I'm so sorry. Here we go. Marshall Applewhite. Focus.
I'm also hammered. This is the first time I've been hammered on this podcast.
Get it? It's
'cause
not
I've
easy.
been
It's
sick.
not easy to do the last
not.
segment. It's
This
not
is the first
easy.
time all 3 of us have been drinking at the same time.
Let's do this. Okay. Whew. Marshall Applewhite. Born in 1931, he's the son of a Presbyterian minister in Texas. Nothing good ever happens in Texas.
Tejas.
Nah.
Gross.
His family often moved around from town to town, kind of preaching in various churches. Marshall grew up to be incredibly skilled musically, and as an adult, he taught music at the University of St. Thomas, unfortunately, in
What?
Houston. In Houston,
Oh.
Texas.
Okay.
Not in Minnesota. I know, I read that, and I was like, holy
We
shit,
all
this is
perked
awesome.
up.
We
We
got
all
pumped.
perked up.
Sorry to ruin your day. He was fired from his position as a music teacher in the late 60s, early 70s. My research kind of was unclear about the exact year that he was fired, but it was like the late 60s, early 70s. He was fired from the college for, drum roll please, an alleged homosexual relationship with a student.
Yeah.
Oh,
Always,
homosexual?
every bad thing always starts with an alleged homosexual relationship.
for real.
No.
I know, that's not
Yes.
true. That's not true at all. But anyway,
I mean,
Every
needless to
beautiful
say,
thing.
it is a beautiful... Homosex is fun. Needless to say, the incident broke up his marriage. He had a wife and 2 children. It didn't go over well. Shortly after this incident, his mental state took a serious decline, and he reported hearing voices and even checked himself into a psychiatric ward seeking to, quote, be cured of his homosexual urges.
Mike Pence.
Yeah, some electroshock bullshit that clearly doesn't work. So, again, the timeline here is foggy, but shortly thereafter, he suffers a heart attack and he is hospitalized. He considers this a life-changing near-death experience.
how old is he at this point?
I mean, he's in his 50s. He was born in, like, the 30s.
Oh,
so
okay.
30, 40,
Okay.
50, 60, 70s. He's in his late 40s at this point. I counted
Okay.
on my fingers. I did that.
You're better at math than Credonia.
Hey, I nailed it. Credonia can suck it. So while he's hospitalized for his heart attack that nearly killed him, one of his nurses, Bonnie Lou Nettles, convinces him that his heart attack happened for a reason and that he could, quote, be used mightily in a group she belonged to.
Oh.
Yep. So from here, Bonnie convinces him to join the religious group now known as Heaven's Gate. I'm not super sure what they went by before then or how many people were involved. There's like no record.
He didn't found it. He was
No.
He was asked to join.
Yes, he was drawn in. He was drawn in, which makes... I really feel like this backstory makes the whole thing 10 times more fascinating.
Okay.
So their relationship is super bizarre and kind of unclear, but the two live together in what Marshall referred to as, quote, a sexless union for many, many years. And though they...
I mean,
Marriage.
Yeah,
They
pretty
were
much.
married.
A typical American marriage. So though they co-led the group, he always referred to her as the senior leader even after she died in 1985. I feel like in a way he was kind of a feminist. Like he drew this way out beyond anything she ever imagined, but he always gave her the credit. And I give him props for that.
guy. I like that.
I really appreciate it.
Again, we are sympathizing.
I always
the
find the
perpetrators.
bright side. So the two were arrested together in 1974 and charged with stealing a car and credit cards. They get out of jail pretty quickly, claiming the vehicle and cars were borrowed and belonged to a member of their religious group. So the reason I bring this up is because things escalated super fucking rapidly after this incident. Within weeks of this arrest, the two cut themselves off completely from their families. And Marshall's sister is quoted, he came to see us in Dallas, where we were living at the time, to tell us that he was going off with this group and we would not hear from him again. And of course, we tried to talk him out of it, and I told him this wasn't him, but he said, you don't know the real me.
Ooh.
Yup.
Later, Marshall, when describing the reactions of the family members of others who would later join the group, he said, quote, it seems to always cause all of the people in the periphery of your life to turn against you. Think that you've lost your marbles, you've gotten duped by someone who has a spell on you and will lead you down a crooked path. So this is really fitting in with our, like, parameters of a cult.
Yep.
Yeah.
So to give you a sense of the timeline here and how quickly things dissolved into madness, this was 1974. By 1975, the two of them are claiming they are space aliens. It went quick.
Quick question.
Sure.
This Nettles character. Is
Bonnie
she really
Lou.
is she the founder of this cult?
This is what's so crazy is that there is, and I swear to God, I looked at like a fucking million websites. There is jack shit recorded before the recorded incident of Nettles recruiting Marshall Applewhite.
So she founded it, but she was shit at it.
Yeah, I mean, I can only assume that maybe she and some, like, knitting buddies, after a long shift
It
at
was
the
a
hospital.
bridge club.
Yeah. We're
It
like,
was a
you
bridge
know what
club.
sucks? Organized religion as a whole. Let's make our own. We can do it better. In Applewhite's eyes, it's all Bonnie Lou. Like, she is the one who turned him onto this. She's the one who made this happen. So I think
Aw.
we can really attribute her as the original founder. I really think we can.
I like that.
Yeah.
So these are two cults led by women.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love it. Fucking feminism. Applewhite and Nettles make the news in 1975, shortly after they've started claiming to be space aliens, when they convince a group of 20 people from, of course, Waldport, Oregon, to leave their homes and move to eastern Colorado, where they would meet with a spaceship.
Oh, yeah.
They claim to be space aliens in contact with other aliens from a heavenly kingdom.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Dude.
I honestly,
This is the best cult ever.
The thing that I doubt the least is the heavenly kingdom like verbiage.
Right,
I
the
don't really
aliens are
doubt
legit.
That they thought, yeah,
I don't
legit.
doubt the aliens at all.
But here we go. So this is super reminiscent of what Kendall was mentioning before with her cult. They claim to be space aliens. They round up these 20 people. They bring them to Colorado, and they're like, the ship is coming. We're going to meet the ship. Well, fucking weird. The ship doesn't come.
Oh, shit.
Yep. But very different from your cult. In this cult, the group is sort of like, okay, they're kind of chill with it. They sort of, yeah, I think I attribute this a lot to the fact that this group now has 20 people. Your group had 6,000 people. So there weren't like enough people with the sense to be like, this doesn't look right. So they just kind of went with it. However, the group does stop its public activities for a time, and it doesn't resurface again until 1993. So we've taken a jump here. They come back in 1993 when Heaven's Gate...
So wait, how many years is that? Like, did they stop in the 70s?
They go dormant in about 1977 to 78 is my calculation, and then they pop back up in 1993. And here's how they pop back up. The organization, in a bout of creative ideas,
Madness, yeah.
they buy an ad in USA Today.
Well, they couldn't afford anything more prestigious.
Listen, USA Today reaches a lot of fucking people. And they said that in the ad, they say the Earth's present civilization was about to be recycled and, quote, spaced under.
Okay.
This drew in more members.
Under?
So they've accumulated maybe, I mean, their ad didn't do that well. They got like maybe 20 more people to join.
They almost doubled their numbers, is what you're trying to say.
Almost doubled it, but close, but no cigar. So we talked earlier about the ultimate goal of cults and kind of what differentiates them from other organized religions. And
outward facing.
And to be clear, the ultimate goal of this group was, quote, membership in the next level, which meant essentially joining the alien race after their human body had died. So they believed that to be eligible for membership in the next level, humans would have to shed every attachment to the planet. So this meant all members had to give up all human-like characteristics such as their family, their friends, their sexuality, their individuality, their jobs, their money, and their possessions.
They
How
were
do they know what
Buddhists.
human-like characteristics entails?
Honestly...
Like hair, eyelashes.
Honestly, this is...
belly buttons.
Now, Bonnie Joe is dead, and their main leader is a man who is ashamed of his homosexual urges, who put himself
When did
into
Bonnie Jo
conversion.
die?
She died in 1985. I mentioned that earlier. You're just drunk.
I have a notebook in front of me. I would have written that down.
If you
I
were
had-
drunk. But I mean,
super missed it.
It kind of makes sense when your leader is a man who's so ashamed of himself that he would create a group that encourages others to leave behind literally every fragment of your individuality as a human being to join him. I mean, it's actually really fucking sad when you think about it. How much of that shame contributed to where he took this group, I have to assume that it's a lot of it.
Yeah, to just utter nihilism.
Exactly. But to be fair, he did only allow people to enter the group if they were over the age of 18. So he had some screening process.
Yeah.
Group members gave up their material possessions and lived a life devoid of any indulgences. So no sex, no fancy shit, nothing shiny. It's all gone.
No soap.
No soap. I mean, I don't know. I am assuming they bathed.
Deodorant?
I think they may. I don't know if
Dove?
those. I honestly don't think those can be
Bananas?
considered indulgences. I think that's just basic human shit. The group was super tightly knit and everything was shared communally. When they were out in public, members were only allowed to carry a $5 bill and one roll of quarters. A roll of quarters is like $10, so they were carrying
For
15
laundry.
bucks. Yeah, for laundry.
Laundry.
Here's where shit gets fucked up. 8 of the male members of the group, including Applewhite, voluntarily underwent castration in Mexico as an extreme means of maintaining their sexless lifestyle.
Chemical castration or surgical
Everything
castration?
was cut off, balls.
Mexican castration.
Mexican castration. It's all gone.
It's all gone.
Chopped up, made into tacos al pastor, which are my favorite.
Those are my favorite
They're
too.
so good.
Me 3.
So
oh my
good.
I
god.
love it. So this part, like, made me die laughing, and you have to go to the blog and see the photo. So the group earned
me pull it
revenues
up.
by offering professional website development for paying clients under the name Higher Source. So if you take a look at Heaven's Gate website, which is still up and running, it is awful. So
Oh my
please
God.
go to
I'm going right now.
www.heavensgate.com and just
Heaven's Gate.
look at how awful this website is. Like, the font is in Comic Sans. It's so bad.
How and when it may be entered.
So this is literally how
Red
they're making their
alert.
money.
Oh my god, the first sentence on their website is, quote, whether Hale-Bopp,
Hale-Bopp.
Hale-Bopp.
Mbop, whether Mbop has a companion or not is irrelevant from our perspective, end quote.
Yep.
What?
At the top
Yet
in
it's
Comic
the
Sans,
basis
it
of
flashes
your
red
shit.
alert.
Yeah, red alert.
If you don't feel comfortable going to the website, it's cool. I took a screenshot of their homepage for the blog, so like you're covered. You can go see it. You can go see it without having in your search history heavensgate.com.
And also in word art underneath the Heaven's Gate logo says, as was promised, the keys to Heaven's Gate are here again in T&Do, the
Yep.
UFO 2,
So
as they were in Jesus and his Father 2,000 years ago.
T and Do were the new names of Bonnie Lou and Marshall.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
T&D.
So they literally check off every fucking box. They changed their names.
was
They gave
which?
up everything. Marshall went as Do, and Bonnie Lou went as T. It's pretty bad. So, according to Heaven's Gate, once the individual has perfected themselves through the, quote, process, there were 4 methods to enter or graduate to the next level. Method 1, physical pickup into a spacecraft and transfer to a next level body aboard that craft. In this version, an alien spacecraft would descend to Earth, collect Applewhite Nettles and all of their followers, and their human bodies would be transformed through, quote, biological and chemical processes to perfected beings.
Specific.
Super
Good.
blanket term. We're going to
Yeah.
wave a magic wand in a spaceship. You're going to become into a perfect being.
You're
Method
gonna be
number
Dippin'
2.
Dots.
Yep. Dippin' No one knows how Dippin' Dots are made. No one.
They're the ice cream of the future.
They're
Spread
amazing.
the word.
They're amazing. Okay. Method 2.
I love Dippin' Dots.
Me too.
I love them.
Every time I go
love
to the
them.
zoo, I get them. Method 2. Natural death, accidental death, or death from random violence. Here, the graduating soul leaves the human container for a perfect next level body. Method number 3. Outside persecution that leads to death. So, okay, we're gonna have to do a whole other fucking episode because I totally clicked some Wikipedia shit and got super deep on this. And it is so good. Okay, but I'm not gonna go over it now because we'd be here for hours. So, listeners, look this shit up, listen carefully. After the deaths of Branch Davidians in Waco, Texas, and the events involving Randy Weaver at Ruby Ridge, Applewhite was afraid that the American government would murder the members of Heaven's Gate. We saw this in fucking Jonestown. It's that same shit.
Yeah.
So that's one of the methods of crossing over into a new body. I'm sorry, I can't talk. Method number 4.
They wanted that. They wanted to be martyrs.
I mean,
They were prepared for it.
so before we get to method 4, it's important to note, as you're saying, they wanted to not be responsible for their own exit from their body. They wanted it to be natural. They wanted it to be supernatural. They wanted to be killed.
And
so
expulsion.
no suicide.
No suicide. However, things escalate, and Marshall adds method number 4, which is willful exit from the body in a dignified manner. So near the end of this cult's existence, Applewhite had a revelation that they may have to abandon their human bodies of their own accord to achieve the next level, as, quote, Jesus had done, where he was basically willfully crucified by Pontius Pilate, sacrificed himself for all the sinners of the world. That's
Yeah,
kind of
he
how
didn't,
they were equating that shit. Okay?
Okay, weird aliens plus Jesus, but okay.
I know, it all sinks. So let's fast forward a little bit.
I get it.
Let's fast forward a little bit. In 1995 comes the discovery of the comet Hale-Bopp. This comet is an anomaly in that it can be seen by the naked eye, which is incredibly rare, and that it was visible for literally a total of 18 months. So this is over a year that we could go into our backyards and look up and fucking see this comet. I remember I had recently moved to Minnesota, and I remember going into my front driveway with my parents and looking at this thing. Anyone who was born in the mid to late 80s has actual cognizant memory of going out and seeing this comet. So it was a big fucking deal. So now it's a year later-ish, we're in 1996, and an amateur astronomer takes an image of Comet Hale-Bopp and claims to see a Saturn-like object lurking behind the comet. Now, there is nothing that links this quickly debunked discovery to the reaction of the Heaven's Gate weirdos, but it just goes to show how easy it is to use faulty evidence to convince a crowd of lost and desperate people of some pretty insane shit, which, sounding familiar, 2017?
MAGA.
Get the fuck together. So, convinced that there is an alien craft hiding behind the comet full of aliens that will help the members of Heaven's Gate graduate into their perfect being, Marshall decides that they need to speed up the process of leaving their vehicles, i.e. bodies, to get into that spaceship and employ method number 4 of willfully leaving the body. So this is like the exact time that he adds method number 4 to all of the methods that he's already listed.
Convenient.
Soup's convenient.
Very.
So I'm getting to the end here. In late March 1997, so here we are, we're wrapping it up, Hale-Bopp reaches its closest distance to Earth. Marshall rents a huge mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California, where he...
Fun.
Yeah.
Not suspicious.
Soup's beautiful. He literally told the owner of the property that he and his Christian angels were just getting together for like a little soiree. And
Okay, then that's on the owner
Yeah, that's
for
what I'm
renting
saying.
that out.
If
The
anyone
owner doesn't
says-
give a fuck. He's still renting out this $1,000 a night mansion.
I mean,
what does he care?
If anyone
if
says I want to
somebody-
rent this
yeah.
out for my Christian angels, I'm going to say,
Yeah.
no, that's
Oh,
not a
you know
good
what?
idea.
I'm so sorry. I didn't realize it was already booked.
Yep,
I
SARS.
literally wouldn't care.
Not
I
good.
would do it.
So
It would not be weird.
he and his 38 followers go to this mansion. They're all prepared to leave their vehicles. They drink a lethal mixture of phenobarbital and vodka. They want to get a little lit
Oh my
on their
god,
way
they
to
sound
the
like Courtney
spaceship.
Love.
And then they lay down to die, hoping to leave their bodily containers, enter the alien spacecraft, and pass through Heaven's Gate into a higher existence.
What's with the vodka then?
I don't
Just to give them
know.
a little bit of a buzz? Like to
mean-
get it like into their bloodstreams faster or what?
I'm assuming
I
they just
don't
wanted to
think
get
that they.
tore up.
No, barbiturates and alcohol are
It accelerates
deadly.
the process, yeah. So this would be a good time to go ahead and check the blog. I have, because I'm an asshole, included crime scene photos of them,
Yeah.
of these members all over the fucking mansion in matching outfits and bunk beds.
What?
Yeah. They all wore...
Okay.
Yes?
So I gotta say, every time I've seen pictures of these poor saps in their bunk beds, especially when I was younger, I've just been so jealous of their bunk beds. Like, why would they commit suicide? They have brand new Nikes. They have sweatpants.
I
They're in
have no
bunk
sympathy
beds.
for you because literally you had the most covetable custom-built bunk beds in the history of children.
That
Lucy
wasn't until I
had the
moved into our
coolest
new
room.
house until I was 8 years old.
Kenyon
Before I
was raised
8,
poor, okay?
Yeah.
Listen
I
to me.
was poor.
those bunk beds were custom built because I coveted my cousin's bunk bed so much. Literally, the bunk beds that exist in my bedroom right now are a result of this Hale-Bopp comet cult. Because I demanded bunk beds, and I also demanded Nike shoes that never happened. But seriously, I really wanted bunk beds, and every time I saw pictures of this, I was just reminded of, I just wanted bunk beds.
They were found lying peacefully in the home, wearing all black clothing and matching Nike sneakers.
Yup, jealous.
Which, like, if you're gonna die in style. Like, I feel fine with that.
What was the
Yeah.
reasoning behind the Nike sneakers,
I have
by the way?
no fucking clue. So, listeners,
Maybe they had like an endorsement deal.
I highly doubt Nike was like, yeah, your cult of 38 people will totally sponsor you.
Did they not all also have, like, matching tracksuits? They were all wearing the same fucking thing.
It says they were in all black. But, I mean, the pictures look like they have matching tracksuits.
Endorsement deal.
I'm no
All right.
expert, but Nike sponsored this cult. And among the dead were 18 men, 21 women. So come on, ladies, get it together. All of varying ages, and to this day, Heaven's Gate is the largest mass suicide to take place on American soil.
So how many people total? How many deaths?
39? Among the dead were 18 men and 21 women. So add that together. That's 39.
All right, we've super unraveled. Should we get to special thanks this week?
Yep, end
Yes.
it.
Please end it.
Please.
End it all. I need to exit my earthly body.
And go to my alien spacecraft.
Release me to my ship.
All right. Special thanks this week to two wine and crime fans, Vince and Shelby.
We only have two.
Oh, yeah. We only have two.
To our two wine and crime fans, Vince and Shelby, who
Thank you,
each
Vince and Shelby.
who each took the time to go online and answer our burning post-mortem penile engorgement questions.
Oh
So-
my God, we have when we still have more questions.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're
We do.
listening now and
Never-ending
hearing our
questions.
plea
Yeah.
now,
How to
You
die
have
it's never
with a
too
boner.
late. It's never too late.
Any information about post-mortem
We need it.
penile engorgement, please just email us at
We need it.
wineandcrimepodcast@gmail.com.
Please.
Also, Vince and Shelby, suffice it to say, not all heroes wear capes.
Our heroes.
Thank you so much.
We love you.
Thanks for listening. Our cover art is by Kali Yip. Music by Phil Young and Corey Wendell. Sound mixing by Dan Larson. Be sure to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Wine and Crime Pod. All Wine and Crime episodes are available on SoundCloud. For more episodes and info, visit our website at wineandcrimepodcast.com. Until next week, keep it creepy.